What's happening, Reds? It's Jamie Webster here. Just wanted to say, subscribe below. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Liverpool Connection podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dazza. Steve is with me, and a special guest today, all the way from Sweden. I've never been there. I'd love to go there. You know, maybe if this episode goes really well, he'll pay for a flight for me and Steve, and maybe some beers as well on the way. But very, very pleased to introduce Björn Melin. He's been a fan for a very long time, reading his little bio, the 70s and 80s, which was probably some of the best football I've ever seen, and one of the best teams I've ever seen. You know, I'm a 70s, 80s kid as well. But welcome, Björn. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. I'm still at work, hence the kind of boring background and the shirt. But, you know, that's how it is.
Hey, we've got you, and we'll keep you for a little while. Not for too long, but you know, a good 45.
Yeah, no worries.
Let's get straight into it then. I mean, you know, Sweden has a massive fan base. For Liverpool. Why is that? Because I know Norway as well. A lot of the Nordic countries just love this football club. Why is that?
Well, it's quite, you know, it's always interesting to talk about it because, you know, people, you know, outside of the Scandinavian countries are quite, you know, interested in that. And the simple answer is that a Swedish sport commentator, we would call it TV personality, who was traveling to England back in 1967, where he was supposed to, I don't know, do some TV stuff about fox hunting in England. But due to, you know, illness among the animals, it was cancelled. There was no hunting in Great Britain that day or that weekend. So we went to football in London, and he got the idea, shouldn't we be able to send a live game back in Sweden? Because back in Sweden, the first division was normally broadcasting back in Sundays, and this was Saturday. So he got back home, contacted his colleagues in Denmark, Norway, due to, you know, economic reasons and so on. And finally, back in 1969, the three Scandinavian countries started to broadcast live games from foremost the first division every Saturday. And did that from 1969 to, in Sweden at least, to 1995. So me being born in 1970, growing up in Sweden in the 70s, my dad, you know, as it is, he sat down with me and watched black and white TV football every Saturday. So I don't have any moment personally where I started to you know, love LFC. It just grew because Liverpool and Manchester United were the teams, for different reasons, that was broadcasted the most during all of this time. I think that I read somewhere from 1969 to 1965. I think it was broadcast like 65 times during those years, and that's the most between those those teams. And I was lucky enough to fell in love with Liverpool and not Manchester United. So I'm very happy for that. So, and that's the same for everybody. So that's the reason why so many Norwegians, Swedes, and Danes are in love with English football and Liverpool Football Club.
So it's always nice to go from black and white to colour telly, isn't it?
Yeah. We can't remember the year. I can't remember the year when my dad got us with color TV. I think it was in the middle of the 70s, but I can't remember. So for me, my first memories that I can, you know, it's black and white, some quite bad TV compared to today. But for some reason, I fell in love with Rick Clemens, Phil Neal, Kevin Keegan. They were all my heroes from growing up. Bob Paisley is also a name that, you know, got stuck in my mind very early on. So from early days, it's the names more than specific matches or games that I remember. So it was, you know, as you fall in love with someone, you know, it just happens.
You know, that's pretty similar to my background. Is that when we first started seeing the English game being televised live here in Liverpool and Manchester United, obviously were the two big names. And this is mid to late 90s. So
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I gravitated towards the Liverpool red versus the Manchester United red. So I feel you there. So
yeah.
When you've obviously been to Anfield, right?
Yeah.
Quite a few times. So your first experience, were you a young lad, or
no, actually not. No, actually not, because I think, you know, for different reasons, I didn't know what to do. You know, when I was a late teenager or early 20s, something like that, I was interested in different. I liked, you know, Liverpool, of course, but I wasn't like a fanatic. I wouldn't say I'm a fanatic today, but you know, as you have television, if you look at the games, you start to have, you know, more of a relationship to the club, and you follow them every week and so on. But when I was like in the night, when I was, you know, 19, 20, 21 and so on, I didn't have the TV channels that showed that, and I didn't have the money to afford it because it was pay TV. I preferred to put my money on other stuff, so to speak. And then I was a student and so on. You know how it is for most students. You don't have too much money, and suddenly, you know, I have studied, I started to have a family and so on. I built a house and so on. So life got in the way, so to speak. So actually, and I didn't know how to do to travel to Liverpool, and it was kind of expensive, you know. So I was actually, I think I was like 39 when I got to my first trip with a friend here at work, because he was a fan as well. And since then, I've been there for 1 or 2 times every year, except for the pandemic, of course.
It must have been, I mean, for any Liverpool fan to go to the Mecca of football, Anfield. Take us to your first match. Like,
yeah,
you felt like a little kid. You must have.
I did. As I told you, I was a grown up. I was 39 years old. I've built 2 houses on my own. I have a wife. I have 2 kids and so on. And then I remember, because of course, I was excited, but as well as was quite nervous, because I didn't know how to react, because thinking back, it was kind of silly, but I was afraid I was going to start to cry on the terraces, you know, when I heard "You Never Walk Alone" and seeing the pitch and so on. But I was quite, you know, if you have a couple of beers and so on, you got a bit relaxed and so on. And my friends have been there for a couple of times before. So they give me a kind of a banter, you know, because I expressed how I felt about it. So that's how it is. But it was quite nice. And we walked all the way from central Liverpool to Anfield, the Anfield area. So you at the same time as you got, you know, more excited, it kind of, you know, we stopped at pubs and so on. So it was like a balance. On one hand, you was excited and get more and more excited, you know, the nearer you got to Anfield. But on the other side, you got more relaxed, you know, because we sat down, we talked, we had great fun. We talked to other supporters, having beers and so on. So it was a mix of emotions, but it was quite. And of course, one thing that also added to the whole drama, so to speak, because we didn't know how to get tickets. So perhaps we didn't get tickets the most formal way, official way. So it was we were kind of nervous if they were going to work or not when you show the tickets, you know, in the entrance. So that, you know, it was kind of very nervous, having spent those money, those times, and for the first time, will I get through into to Anfield? So, but we did. But it was quite exciting. And
your story is so relatable, because I was about the same age when my first trip to Anfield. You know,
yeah.
And now when you're telling your story, obviously it always takes me back. You know, it's a different experience when you grow up there in the city and you get to go with your parents. But then as an older person, when you watch the team, you know, on the telly, and then you finally get to this place that you've always seen on TV, and it's even just talking about that, you know, it kind of, at a loss for words. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, but as I guess for you guys as well, perhaps not that you, Des, growing up in Liverpool, as I understand it, and perhaps you've been there as a kid and so on. But for us going there, haven't seen Liverpool on the TV for so many years, and you know, following the teams and the club and so on. It's almost too. For me, I guess it was, as I told you, it was almost too much emotions, a bit too unreal. So and of course, as I told you, we were quite nervous not to get in because of the way we got the tickets at that time, because we didn't know how to do it otherwise. We don't. You learn and you get contacts, and perhaps you're getting older. Your economy is getting better and so on, so you can afford the more formal ways to pay for your tickets and your travels. But I think for most Swedes, normal supporters, so to speak, it costs a lot of money. The hotel, the flights, traveling, and so on. So the ones that I know, we save money. We put away money for this specific purpose, to go to Liverpool and have a weekend with the guys and so on. So it's nice.
A good cry.
Yeah.
That's what pints are for,
Yeah.
You can cry into the pint.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first match then? Who you played?
Oh, shoot, of course. I'm not sure because I was with my son the year after, and either of the matches was Sunderland. So at the moment, I'm a bit confused if it was the first game or my second game, his first. So when I began to go to Anfield, the next time I brought my family, but only my son. He was like 9 years old then. So I got him on board much earlier than I had the opportunity to.
Yeah, what a great experience for a 9-year-old. I was 7. For me, but for anyone that's under like 20, I would think it's just a magical time just looking up. I mean, even for us, like I'm in my 50s. Steve, I think he's like 80.
Pretty close. Yeah.
But it's still a magical time every time I go to Anfield.
Yeah,
because you look around and you remember, oh, he used to sit there. He's not there anymore. She's not there anymore. So it is emotional. But I mean, for a 9-year-old to just look up at the at the stadium and just be like, wow, and to be with your dad as well.
I don't know if you have kids and been there together with them, but for me it was kind of a magic moment. Bringing my son, for some reason he loved Liverpool. I don't know why, but that's how it is. So he was a fan, even he was just 9. That was the team, of course, because we watched all the games together at home. So it was very nice. And I think me being so old, going to Anfield for the first time, I think that for me it was more like special, because it was kind of fun to give him that opportunity, to give him that memory as a child, something that I didn't experience. Perhaps I'm just being romantic about it, projecting my own feelings on him. I don't know, but it's okay. He's a diehard fan nowadays, and now he's 21. So we're watching lots of games and have been there together for a couple of times. So it's a great experience to do something like that with your family.
Now you said that it was against Sunderland. It wasn't the beach ball game, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
That's good, because I would have been livid.
Yeah, it was a great game. Actually, I think we won 3-0, if that was the game, or the other one. I don't know. Torres had a screamer. And we got the ticket on the first row. So my son, could not see anything, because you go down a bit when you sit on the first row. But it was a great experience.
Steve, I know I should have started the show actually introducing the book as well, but I'll let because Steve loves his authors. He loves
Yeah.
I know that from your bio that you've written two books about Liverpool, correct?
Yeah, this is the second one. So
right. So your first one is Liverpool Football Club, You'll Never Walk Alone. Now, is that in English?
No, I've just done it in Swedish. Okay. Yeah, that's my main language. That's what I think I'm quite good at writing in. And for there's lots of books written in English about Liverpool Football Club, but actually, for some reason, which I found quite strange, because I wrote this first book back in 2018, 4 years ago. And that was the first time that actually anyone in Sweden has written a book about Liverpool in Swedish as the original language, because, some stuff have been translated, of course. But So it was kind of strange, but I was the first one for some reason.
Well, we'll have to work on that because, I got a book of from Zlatan, and it got translated into English. So I was like so happy when that got translated. And
but there are some practical, difficulties when it comes to different stuff because, you have to have a publisher, you have to, who want to take the cost and so on. So, but for me, I don't know. For me, I'm just a normal supporter who likes to write and have got the opportunity to do that. And it's the same with the second book. We talked a bit about it in the beginning. I'm not doing this for the money because there are no money. But anyway, I'm doing it because of my own passion for the club. I'm interested in history. I wrote a bit in my bio. I got a master's degree in history, so I guess I have some kind of interest in history. I think it's nice to understand more about the club, and this also gives me an opportunity to meet people, Liverpool fans and Liverpool former players and legends and leaders, which I haven't had the possibility to do otherwise. Just sitting here chatting to you, for me, is just fun, and then, as you know, have the possibility to, for my first book, actually, as I mentioned in the beginning, Phil Neal was my childhood hero. And I said, he's he's an amazing storyteller, and just to sit down with him at Hilton in Liverpool for 2 hours and he just telling me his stories and so on, it was great fun. So, just being able to meet your childhood heroes or former players and whatever, and fellow supporters as well. For me, that's the benefit of having the possibility to write books or writing an article or whatever it might be, or doing a pod, as I guess it is for you guys.
You mentioned articles and books, and so when you wrote that first book, obviously it's a big step from just writing an article or writing a blog for something. So what was that thought process involved, saying, okay, I'm going to actually put out a couple hundred pages of this football club?
Much of the reason why I started to write was, it's by chance. It just happened. I was like 40 years old when I realized that I could write and perhaps have the, interest, because I had a job as a political advisor, and for that interview I had to do a work test, so to speak, where I should write something within a time limit, and I found out that I actually could do that. I didn't know before because I've been working with other stuff, and as I mentioned, family, houses, and the free time has been quite full for many years, as it is for many people, from finishing university late 20s, and then you get the family and career and so on. So it's kind of hectic period of your life. But then I had passed that, started to write within my work. And as I was a Liverpool fan, I started to blog a bit because that was the thing that you did 10-15 years ago. And that's when I did a stuff about Brad Jones after he lost his son Luca due to leukemia. So I did a short blog about that, and there was a guy from the Swedish supporter union said, "Wow, that's great. Could we publish that on the Swedish supporter page as a guest article?" Yeah, sure. And that's, I think, started the whole process of, I like Liverpool, I like to write, perhaps I should do something more about it. And then it's, I thought about it, and I wrote another book during that period back in 2015, which was, I interviewed lots of former national coaches in Sweden in team handball and football. I don't know if you know about Lars Lagerbäck, he was the head coach for Sweden for many years, for Norway recently. He's been in Iceland. So he was one of the guys I interviewed about, leadership and the coaching role. So I did that but during that time I started thinking about, I should do something about Liverpool because that would be great fun. So I think it grew. And then I just did it, let's see if I can interview this guy, because, and then you think about the structure of the book, because I don't want to, for me, it's fun. I like coffee table books. So it's the layout, it's very important, the structure and so on. And I've been working quite a lot with the different kinds of communication stuff within my works. I've been not only writing, I've been involved in social media, the process, communication, so on. So for me, it was part of this project when my first book was not just writing and interviewing. It was about how should we lay out it, and what pictures are we able to use, and so on. So I was aiming for a coffee table book, and I think I actually did. And actually I brought it to my work. Here it is. This is the first book with Stevie G. So, and as you can see, you can see it's lots of pictures and layout and so on. Yeah. So it's the same now when I'm coming to my next book. It's important.
So your second book, if there's two things that happen every season, is that is polarizing for supporters. There's the net spend, the transfers, right? Everybody's can never agree on transfers, and everybody either hates or dislikes the new kit that comes out. So there's always, and so you being a collector of the kits, and then now writing a book about behind Liverpool Football Club behind the kits. I'm very fascinated on really finding out just when you started your collection, but also some of the history that you found while you were doing your book.
Well, it's like, I think me, as most supporters, I guess sometimes occasionally you buy a shirt, and I did it for many years when our kids was small, but then I sold away all the kits, all the shirts, because I didn't collect them, and I don't consider myself as a collector. Actually, I just have lots of shirts. But then a couple of years ago, I don't know when, like say 10 years ago, there was this, I think the thing that started all this and started my thoughts about actually writing a book was that if you remember the yellow shirt that you have, with the pinstripes, pinstripes, back in 1982, Liverpool released the red one, the home shirt, and it was something that I saw the year after, because they had that shirt for 3 years. And I remember I saw on a magazine when I saw as a kid, I think I was 30 years old, I saw Ian Rush in that kit, and he looked fabulous with it, and I was it was Magic kit, and I didn't know how to buy a shirt because we didn't have football shirts where I live, and I have no idea how to to order it from England, and my parents haven't. This is in the early 80s, and Sweden was if you think in the United States that we are a socialist country nowadays, we were back then in the way that you didn't have the possibility to it was limited when it comes to, we had one TV channel, even if they showed English football games. Sometimes it was just one TV channel or two at that time, and so on. So we had no idea, and we didn't have internet, of course. So that shirt was something that I always loved for some reason, and it wasn't the shirt that I bought a replica for, and I didn't buy it for like 30 years later. But that was the shirt that I really had in the back of my mind for so many years. And that was also the reason when I bought some more shirts, because for me, shirts are memories and nostalgia. That's what they are. So I'm more interested in, shirts from a couple of years ago or later, because, it reminds you of former games, former players, unique, it's that's what it is for me. So that was also something that, when I got more shirts, I started to, and that was before I wrote the first book. I had some shirts, and I started to think about the background. Why do we have, why did the shirt look like it did? why the sponsors, why did we change sponsors, why pinstripe, lots of things, about why green, and so on and so on. So and I tried to look at the internet and so on, or some books, but there aren't too many books written about, the background. And you can find lots of information on internet. You can find lots of at Liverpool's homepage or whatever it might be, in some books. And I have to mention Peter Creeley, if you know that guy. He wrote about the kits back in 2008, where he covered the story of the kits. A great book, but for me it was I wanted to know more about the background, not so much about, okay, that year it looked like that, and short facts and so on. So I was more interested about the big pictures, and I guess perhaps that's because I have a master's in history, so I'm a bit disturbed in that. I was interested in the background, so I started to write about it, and I have done that for quite a time. Some hour there, some weekend there. So I've been doing this. I actually started a bit before I released the first book. I had it in mind, and I said it just in the beginning, just for the fun. It would be nice to do something but Liverpool shirts book. And my friends were just, yeah, right, who's going to buy that? Yeah, but it doesn't matter because I'm doing it for my own sake. I'm curious about it, and let's see if anybody wants to buy it. So let's see. That's a bit about the background.
Yeah, you spoke about history, and one of the things that Daz and I love about doing this podcast, that we really bring a lot of the past history of the club to new people. Whether it be the older players or some of the games from the past, and it's funny, like every time there's green in our kit, and we're like, why is there green in our kit? There's a history behind it. So now is your opportunity to go find out more about the club, and learn that, it's been a long time tradition of having green in our kits. And so it's always fun to bring in new knowledge to people like that. So,
yeah, but I realized that, I've been reading lots of books just to find out some detail. And I think I searched information on thousands of homepage actually, and somewhere, most of them you don't get anything. And one thing that has been quite hard, it's sometimes the facts are there. What do you say? It says different things depending on the source, and that's how it is. So I've tried to use. It's my main focus hasn't been the details. Of course, you have to write. The fact is that we were born 1892. You can't write 1893. But if the sum that we got from Itachi was £100,000 to £150,000 for 2 years, it's perhaps not the most important. You have to stick with one source. So that's have been one of the challenges during the whole book to get the right information. But I try to be very open with it in the introduction. That it's lots of sources. Some of them says different things. Please have that in mind. But most of it, of course, is fact. But as I say, it's lots of the big picture is interesting for me, and I've done some interviews as well. So if they say something, I have to blame them. That's okay.
I'm going to ask you guys a question because this was my first kit, right?
96, 98, right?
Then that's when I first started watching Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
But I think for recent times, this is my favorite kit. Just the amount of trophies that we won wearing this kit. We won everything.
Yeah.
And so what about you guys? What's your favorite kit? Because I'm interested to hear what your favorite ones have been.
Over to you, Daz.
Good question. I always like the grey, the candy.
Yeah. I have that one.
My immediate picture in my head is Barnsley wearing it.
Yeah.
It just sticks with me. And it looked class too. I love the grey, that's probably my favourite one. Out of all of them. I'm still trying to find it. Because I'm not a big collector of kits. I really don't wear them, but I do have a bunch in my closet, and every now and again I'll go look in there, and then it triggers your brain, and you're like, okay, I remember that season. Wasn't a good season. I remember this. I went to an away match. I remember, who scored and that. So it's always good. I mean, again, like Steve said, this younger generation, a lot of them are all about the transfers and stuff like that, but we want to instill, like, look, pick up a book and learn the history of this club, whether it's like how many goals were scored that year, who was manager that year, the kits. It is very interesting to me. And, even the price. I remember growing up in the 70s and a kit was cheap.
Yeah.
Now you can get two different kits of the same thing. You can get the kind of knockoff, or you can get one by the official, what the players wear. And it really is outrageous how much the kits are these days, because they are sponsored. So I'm like, I know Liverpool Football Club needs to make money as well, and the people that actually make the product. But over here it's what, $90, right? Yeah. And that's without any badges on, without your name on and nothing. It's incredible how much like a kit, like again, and talk of kits. We used to only put out like one kit every couple of years. Now every year. So you've got, I'm sure, your 9-year-old, I've got four little ones. That they're still young enough where they don't want any kits, but there's going to be a point where they're going to go, I want this kit. Just like, I look at them like, well, that's 4 kits for the next, 10 years? It's, well, no, not more, because now you've got 3 kits a year. The 3rd kit should be coming out, I think, in the next week or 2. And the FSG outers will be saying that's why we're going to say, that's why Liverpool Football Club will come out with the 3rd kit. So it'll kind of put under the rug, we're not buying any one, but guess what? We've got a 3rd kit. Silly people, I swear. So back to yours anyway. What's your favourite?
Well, for me, for obvious reasons, my favorite is, the first with the pinstripes. I think it's a great kit from a aesthetic point of view, but also it had lots of nostalgia and memories. So that's my number one by far. And I like, actually, I think Adidas did it quite a lot. That kit was Umbro, but if you look at the second phase of the 80s, the late 80s, all the kits or the shirts that Adidas did, I really liked them. You mentioned the gray ones, the first one that they released 87, 88, where, with the silver and the gray and so on. So I really like that one. And I really like if you remember the white away shirt that Liverpool had back in 85, 86 and so on. It was, white, it was red, and it had some yellow within it as well. I think about John Molby for some reason when I think about that kit. So I like that as well. I really like Adidas a lot. But if I look at, more newer kits, the one that we had 17, 18 with a classic look, dark red with the V ring, the color, the V color. I think that was quite great. I like the dark reds. I'm not too fond about Reeboks, any of the one that they did. Besides the Ecro, because I liked Ecro as well. I think that is cool.
It's classic. So we've gone through our favorite. We've got to do our worst.
Yeah, I think as most say, the Warrior ones, second, the away and the 3rd kiss that they did with Warrior Sports, they were quite horrendous, but you should. I think perhaps it's something that will grow over time, because if you look back at the ones that we had, if you remember the yellow 3rd kit with 1892, 94, 95, like that, it was black and yellow, and it had 1892. It was stuff all. I think it's very cool today, but if Warrior Sport had released that back in when they did 2012, 13, 14, I think we would say it's hideous. So perhaps even Warrior Sports, the shirts that they've done will grow over time. But by far, they are the worst. I don't like them at all.
No, I agree that it's the purple white away kit.
Yeah.
It hurt my eyes.
I think it was the one that Jamie Carragher said it was the worst he ever played in. I think I read that somewhere.
Not surprised.
You know, Bjorn, in your book, obviously, we had Umbro and then Adidas and then, Reebok, right? And Warrior / New Balance and now Nike. Do you go over just the business side of these transformations that the club uses to make their decisions on, which kits company is going to sponsor the team?
Well, just briefly, because, if you read, it's more, if you talk about the reason for choosing Nike, for example, the other year, it's quite obvious if you look, it went to court and so on. And the judge said it was okay, the reasons that Liverpool choose Nike, but it was, very obvious that the deal was much better for Liverpool, not from just money wise. It was, the branding, the marketing potential that you have within Nike and so on. So I mentioned that, of course. And if you go back, there's lots of stories about the reason why Liverpool went from, Umbro to Adidas and so on. Of course, there was a much better deal and so on, but there was, as I understand it, some other reasons that, Dassler, the owner of Adidas, promised Liverpool to be an integral part of the relationship, but because as it seemed, Liverpool wasn't too happy about the relationship that they had with Umbro. So that was one of the reasons that they changed and so on. But as always, if you have to put one reason for changing sponsor or kit manufacturer, it's always the money, of course. So it's been like that every time. Liverpool have got better deals all the way. So the reason why Adidas didn't want to extend was, we didn't even play in Europe when that deal back in 2010 when they discussed it, and Liverpool wanted more money, and the Adidas representative or the CEO, he said, the numbers doesn't match the performance on the pitch. So and then we dropped them and we got Warrior Sports instead. And so there's always a reason for, the money talks. That's how it is.
One of the things I like about the Liverpool kit over the years is that when you see the kit, you almost instantly can think of players and games. And who's going to forget this kit, right?
Yeah.
Right, from 2005. So it's like it's just one of the things that's an advantage, that when you're changing the kit and the styles, like, because some other teams that just basically just take the same design and maybe tweak one thing, and you can never really tell what year that's from, right? So I really appreciate the fact that, that was from 2019, that's 2005, that's 1986, and going back for even further, right? And you see old videos of like Dalglish running around with his kit on, and the Hitachi kits that are classic too. So
that's how it is. As I said in the beginning, that's the reason. The thing that that's what kits or shirts are for me. The memories and nostalgia, and the memories could be anything. If you see a shirt, something happens in your head. It could be a specific game or a specific moment, or good or bad. But or former play, as I mentioned, if you say that white away shirt, that's John Molby for some reason, I don't know why, and so on and so on. So
that's a good memory.
Yeah. Well, he's Scandinavian like me, so we can always
we love Molby. He's the enforcer.
But that's how it is. But as I said before, the reason I started to write this book was for my own sake, because I was curious about the background, the big picture, not so much in detail. And that's why I say that I'm not a collector, because obviously I have lots of shirts. I think I have 85 at the moment, or 90, I don't know, something like that. But I've come to the stage where I want to buy fewer, but they cost a lot. So perhaps save money to get something that are a bit older and more original replica. But as I said, I'm just a supporter who loves shirts. I like the history of Liverpool, and I think it's funny to know more about the reason that we choose that path or something like that. That's part of the history of Liverpool. The shirts are a very integral part of the history because it's not the shirt itself, it's the memories that they bring. So I think that's the driving force behind my, the book, so to speak. And let's see what happens. I hope that the Swedish fans will like it and see what happens after that one.
That's the narrative with the second kit this season, right? The kind of wild color design, and it's supposed to invoke really the music industry of Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just didn't like it. I have it. I love it. I think it's so unique, and it's not replicated anywhere else. But like you said, everything has a story. It seems like as they're trying to, when they put these kits out, they're trying to tie that back into the culture of Liverpool.
Yeah, but it's always interesting because I said, even if I haven't written everything in the book, I have read quite a lot, and it's always fun to find out, the reasons for a designer, because they always try to find, the connection to the Liverpool, and sometimes perhaps it's just words, I don't know, and sometimes it's just because it's actually a good idea. But if you look at I'm not too fond about the checkboards on the shirts. Sometimes they have like a red shirt with some, discrete checkboard. I'm not too fond, but it's always about, it reminds you about the flags and the scarves on Anfield, the cup. That's always, the things that they do say to make the shirt work. So it's always nice to read about, okay, what was this designer thinking? Oh, this time we were thinking about that one. And if you remember the blue one with all the patterns back in 2021 with the teal.
Oh yeah.
That was we have got inspiration from the liver birds on the liver bird on the liver willing, because they have teal and so on. So it's always nice to well, is it true or not? I don't know.
Is that the ecru one? There's like the beige one with the green collar, or no?
No, the ones that we had just a couple of years ago, the first away kit that Nike did back in 2021, it was lots of patterns on it, and it was a teal, blue, green, teal. Yeah.
I don't know if I had that one, so I guess I can't remember it. Maybe that's why I didn't get it.
Yeah, it's quite fun to know the reasons and so on, the inspiration. Sometimes I feel like, well, it's a good thing to say.
Well, it's funny, you'll back in our day too, when football kits came out, you would just wait for them. But now, 6 months before the season's ended, you've got these like mock previews that are coming up, and everybody has their own like view on it, and it's just so funny for me, because growing up as a kid, if my mum and dad brought the new shirt home, I'm chuffed. But now kids are on the internet going, oh, this is what's going to be the new kit in 6 months' time. I'm like, just calm yourself down. Just wait till the end of the season. Release it, and then you could go out and get it. But, it's different people's opinions, and they're just like, oh, I'm not having that kit. I'm not having this. No. And then it's usually not even any of those mock shirts that are coming out. So I find it very bizarre that people get so stuck on little things like that. I'm just like, there's more to life than having to wait 6 months on a shirt that you thought was going to be the new shirt, and it's not. Yeah.
Well, even they're now, having the keeper jersey for sale is another part of the whole thing, right? So you have your 3 traditional shirts. Now you have the keeper jersey that they sell a ton of. It seems like, they're always out of stock, and so just adding in another kit to buy.
It's lots of money for the club. The revenues are quite big. Yeah, it's unfortunately, as you said, it's very, very expensive. And when I'm in Liverpool, I try to buy a shirt from the shop and so on. But nowadays, I don't buy, and I started to buy even secondhand shirts, so to speak, because we have, due to the Brexit and so on, we have to pay custom taxes and so on. So it's getting even more expensive. So we have to chill a bit with the buying.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I much prefer to, buy like local Liverpool t-shirts just because they're very unique and there's loads of, they need the support to survive, but there's loads of those tongue-in-cheek t-shirts that you only get from, Liverpool born and bred. Liverpool to me has always been cheeky. Always tongue in cheek. They have a good laugh at themselves. That's what Scousers are. And I like collecting those t-shirts. Plus, they're a lot cheaper than the footy jersey. So yeah, I'd rather spend 20 quid on a t-shirt and give it to a local than 90. For a jersey. So hopefully my kids will want t-shirts.
You have to bring them. As you say, because as I'm quite active on social media and so on, you get the information about local producers and as perhaps when you're in Anfield and so on. So I buy t-shirts from local producers as well because I think they're funny and they're quite have perhaps a bit of a banter on the shirt or whatever it might be. And for me, if I look at the local designers, this t-shirts that they produce or the stuff that they produce, it's much more better than the club's own designers from my taste or my point of view. So you get a better t-shirt, and is to say perhaps you can give some money to the locals instead of a big corporate club.
Hey, at Liverpool Football Club have enough money. These locals, need that extra. I felt, during the pandemic, felt really bad for a lot of the Liverpool stores outside Anfield. Obviously they had to shut down for 2 years. It wasn't coming in. So I think on their end, that's why a lot of them started their internet businesses. So that's thriving now because it's designs that Liverpool Football Club just put out. To me, generic t-shirts. It's just Liverpool or it's got the live bird on it. Or the locals seem to really do the banter really well. A lot of Scouse, not English, and a lot of Maggie Thatcher on there as well. So I love them. But I guess coming to a close though, we might as well talk about the team now. Thursday transfer window closes. Thank God. I'm sick and tired of hearing it. I'm sick and tired of hearing it on both ends. FSG outers and then the top reds, as the FSG outers would like to call us. We're just Liverpool supporters. Everybody has an opinion. I understand that. They want the best for this club. I'm ready for it. What's your take on? Obviously, Klopp came out, and I think it was a bit sarcastic as well from him, saying you're right and I was wrong, and saying they would go into the market. Everyone went crazy. The internet went crazy. Oh, we're buying someone, and then we haven't bought somebody today. We might not buy anyone tomorrow. Then I hear, Klopp's a liar. My take on that is Klopp isn't a liar. He wants to buy somebody, but is the right footballer there? He's not a stopgap person. He never has been. And it's tough to hear. Like I don't, you're obviously on the Swedish group as well. Is there a lot of toxic people starting to rear their ugly heads? Because there is.
I wouldn't say that. Of course, there's always individuals being, I don't, have a bad attitude or toxic, whatever you want to call it. But I wouldn't say that it's that as bad as I perhaps, I can read on Twitter, for example, where I follow lots of, Twitter is what Twitter is. That's lots of toxic. And I think there's lots of fans being very, and that's not only in Liverpool, of course, that's the society we live in, that everything is black and white and it's more hate than love and so on. So, and that spills over when it comes to fans. And I don't know if it's about age, because I think perhaps if you're older, perhaps, and been around for a while, you have more nuances. It's not like black and white so much. You're more realistic about stuff, getting wiser. But when it comes to Swedish groups and so on, there's always individuals, behaving badly. But I wouldn't say that it's a toxic environment at all. I think there's lots of people actually also being not lots of knowledge about Liverpool. There's lots of people actually very interested and good in football in general, who follows different leagues around Europe and so on, who has very realistic views about possible transfers and not only what they want and so on. So and when it comes to Klopp, he's very, very respected. I would say there's not too much FSG out. I never see anyone saying Klopp out, for the fun of it, of course, being sarcastic, perhaps. But so from a general point of view, I wouldn't say that it's not like, it's not like being on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter is very toxic.
Yeah,
I mean, Klopp isn't above criticism, obviously, and neither is FSG. But I just find I just want to watch football. I want to push this transfer stuff to one side, whether we buy somebody or if we don't.
Yeah,
still a great football team.
Yeah. The reason, if you look at the first games and so on, the reason that we haven't, get more points, it's not due to the fact that we have bad footballers. There's something. It's perhaps they were quite shite. The team, if you look at perhaps the Manchester United game, what Virgil van Dijk, I love the guy, what he was doing, being passive on Sanchez's goal. He just stood there. It was quite, and it's the same. Perhaps one can argue when it comes to Zaha's goal for Crystal Palace. Perhaps he could get closer to narrow and so on. But otherwise, he was not alone. There was something they haven't started right. Lack of aggression, tiredness. I don't know. I mean, mentally, I don't know. It was a long season before, lost two of the big titles, and the last game. I don't know if that affects them. I don't know. But if you look at the last game, 9-0, this is a group of players, no matter what, that are very, very good. And even if we have problems in the midfield when it comes to injuries and so on, we still have a very good team that should perform. So I wouldn't say, from my point of view, the reason that we have only gained so few points is the lack of good players. It's, there'll be other reasons when it comes to I don't know, the attitude perhaps, or the preparedness. I don't know, but I think hopefully we will get the season started big time now. Tomorrow against Newcastle, hopefully we'll have another win.
Yeah, that's another tough game, but this team hasn't turned shite overnight.
No, it's exactly, and of course you would prefer if you have Thiago on the midfield, his, of course you would like to have him playing every game and so on. But we do have other good midfielders, so I would say it was the team that didn't perform as well as they could or should, more than individuals being shite. Mm-hmm. Well, they were, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one. I think just one of those where, just like you said, 63 games played last season, a short pre-season. They haven't rested. I actually think, even though I don't like having the World Cup, where in November, that's insane to me. It just takes away from what the World Cup really is.
Yeah,
but that break for us, with Salah and, Thiago will probably go with Spain, but will probably never get a game.
No.
Hendo will probably never start.
No.
I just don't see it. So I think it could help us long run. I mean, if we can keep pace with whoever is up there, obviously City and Arsenal are doing the job at the moment, but haven't played really anyone worthwhile.
No.
I think if we can at least be, 4 points off of them and see where we're at, after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Again, this team is good. Once we have everyone back fit, I mean, everybody moaning and groaning. Now we've got Matip back already. We've got Ramsey who's back, and Jones who's back. Looks like Jota is back Thursday, and Thiago looks like he's back next week. I mean, we're only going to be missing Kanute and
then we have another guy who's coming back, and that's Darwin Nunez.
Exactly.
Right.
So
it's not all doom and gloom.
No, so if you think about that, what he did, getting a red card for that. Welcome to England. That's what I say. Hopefully he will learn from it and never do that again, because he really put the team. He let them down, so to speak. But he knows that. I mean, if we had him on the pitch, I'm quite sure that we will have a winner. Who knows what he would have done against Manchester United, and so on. So that's also should be very interested to see him in the long run, to see him in lots of games, because I think he looks interesting.
Well, I mean, I'd rather him get sent off in the second match of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
I know exactly what you mean. Exactly.
Klopp will take him and would have taken him aside, going, "Look, you're gonna get that every single week in this. You've got to deal with it." I mean, it was stupid, but he's young and hopefully he'll learn for it. He said he won't do it again. So I expect great things from him this season, especially the way Trent performed against Bournemouth. And people will just say, "Well, it was just Bournemouth." But you have to play the team that's in front of you, no matter what. If you're in the Premier League, you're in there for a reason, because you're a decent side. And rest in peace, Parker. I'm sorry, we got you fired. But poor fella. He's going to put all his cardigans on sale now.
Yeah.
I can't wait, for when Trent and Nunez actually really click.
Yeah.
And, those headers go in, those crosses go in. I'm looking forward to this season. I've never been a doom and gloomer. I never will. There's always a bright light at the end of the tunnel, and I still think we'll be up there challenging City.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess on that note, that's a good place to leave it. Yeah, we'll challenge City and we'll win the league. We'll win it all.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, Bjorn, for coming on and spending a good hour with us and telling your story.
Thank you, Des. It was great. It's fun just chatting with you like this. So thank you for having me.
And if you want, is the book already out?
No, today we actually started to design it, so to speak. So I'm working with a guy who's a professional, works at the advertising firm company. So he's been taking photos for a couple of hours of the shirts that I have, and we've been talking about the cover. The book cover is it's so important with the book cover, because you want to people that see it, you want them to realize this is Liverpool and this is like about shirts. So it's a bit of a challenge because it's so important. But we had some ideas. So for the next 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to finish the book. It's the things that I've been writing. It's being proofreading at the moment, not by me, because some other guy have to look at. If you spend so much time looking at the same text, you know how it is. You don't see things anymore. So we are in the process of making the book, and then it will be printed and it will be released in Sweden late October. 1st October, because then we have Father's Day and then we have Christmas, and you want the book to be available before Father's Day and Christmas for obvious reasons.
Will this book have, I imagine, would have photos in it, Bjorn?
Yeah.
Because I know Daz and I, we can't read Swedish, but we can sure look at some pictures.
Yeah, of course. I will make sure that you will have a copy later on. So I have Daz, and let's see what happens, Now we hope it will, the Swedish fans will like it and buy it, and then we will see if we perhaps the first step would be to translate it to Norwegian, because it's a very big market, and Swedish and Norwegian are actually not the same language, even if we understand each other. So it's not the same. So let's see what happens. For me, it's just been great learning so much about the shirts, the background, meeting people. Actually, I interviewed Rick Perry and Peter Moore for the book, which was fantastic. I talked to a couple of old players like Glenn Hysén and Howie Gale, Stig Björn also, short interviews. And one thing that just, when I talked to Rick Perry, he mentioned the guy from Carlsberg who was who made the deal. Kjell Strudal is his name. So I went over to Copenhagen and talked to him. He's a freelancer nowadays, a great guy. He talked about the relationship and some stories about, the reason why Carlsberg got interested in Liverpool in the first place, which I have never heard before. So it's nice to meet people, and get to some know more. So hopefully the Swedish fans will like it. I'm a fan. I write for other fans.
Well, maybe you can send us a brief message relating that story, because I'd be interested in hearing about that.
Absolutely. I won't say too much now, because perhaps some will.
We have to promise we won't tell any of our Swedish fans what's going on. So
no big secret. It was just fun to hear it from Kjell.
Perfect. Well, we thank you for coming on, Bjorn. It's been very interesting, and it's always nice to add to our network of people that love Liverpool and all around the world. And so we really appreciate.
Thank you for having me. And if you're coming to the south of Sweden anytime, or actually in Copenhagen, don't hesitate to pay me a visit, or I will come to visit you if it's in Copenhagen, because I live so very near Copenhagen. So,
all right, deal.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, and please like and subscribe. And we'll a quick. We got a brand new show called Pub Chat, where we actually get away from the missus and get down the pub and have a bit of a chat about the games and all that good stuff. But thank you again for listening, Bjorn. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.